Hello, this is the first video in a series, How to Protect from Web Applications Hacking. By web application we mean it's a website with many pages that are connected to each other logically in a sequential or other logical way to serve the application. We are going to focus on two attacks, SQL injection and cross-site scripting. These two attacks are classified among the top 10 attacks that are aiming at web applications, and they are very dangerous because they are there in so many websites. This first video will talk about how to install Oracle Virtualbox, Kali Linux virtual machine on Windows 10. The rest of this series is organized in the following way: how to do Oracle Virtualbox networking, Linux using tools like NMap, Zenmap, Metasploit program, which is a program that uses exploit database, which is a database of well-known exploits that are known in different applications, different versions, so that if you know your application and you know which version or release of that application, you can know which exploits exist in this application. In this exercise, we're going to learn what are the different exploits, how to prevent them, and how the attackers may use them. Hack the Box is also a virtual environment that enables you to connect to this network and try different kind of testing, penetration testing. OWASP BWA is a virtual environment that you can install in your local machine. Seed Labs is also a virtual environment that's used in more than 1,000 universities around the world. It has so many labs. Each lab is specialized in a certain type of attack and how to prevent this attack. Two famous attacks will be handled: SQL injection. We are going to test SQL injection using Hack the Box, OWASP BWA, and Seed Labs. Also, a cross-site scripting. This is another attack that we are going to test using again Hack the Box, OWASP BWA, and Seed Labs. To explain what's the meaning of virtual machine, we have this diagram. First of all, we have the hardware, the physical piece of your computer. We have the host operating system, which is the main OS that's installed in your machine. For example, Windows 10, that's maybe your host. Then we can install a certain program which we call hypervisor. It's a coordinator. In our case, we are going to use Oracle Virtualbox because it doesn't need any license. On the other hand, we have other hypervisors like VMware or vSphere. These other hypervisors may need license, so that we are going to avoid them in this exercise. Then we have what we call guest OS. It's a guest operating system that's installed like a guest on that machine, not the main one. Maybe we can have Linux Kali as the guest OS. Maybe we can have Windows 2003, 2010, Windows 7 as a guest OS, OWASP BWA as another guest OS. Maybe we have different guest OSs in the same machine. In this exercise, what we are going to do, we're going to have one host OS. In our case, it's Windows 10. Then we are going to have two guest OSs. Both of them are going to be Linux Kali. Why Linux Kali? Kali is a Linux distribution, famous Linux distribution, which has all the tools that you need as penetration tester to try to prevent attacks and test different types of attacks. We can also use other Linux distributions, but Kali, it comes with all the tools that you need to perform penetration testing. If you need to install another version other than Kali, you can do that, you can still do that, but in this case, you need to install that Linux distribution. Then later on, you need to install the tools that you are going to need. Kali, it comes pre-built, equipped with all the needed tools. Most security professionals, as we said, use Kali as their virtual machine because it comes with all the needed tools. Of course, using Oracle Virtualbox as a hypervisor, we have the ability to run on a host computer without the need to install Kali or boot from alternative media. Oracle Virtualbox will enable us to load Kali, examine a running computer, pause Kali, then restart it later on. Linux virtual machine also provides unparalleled flexibility and software. These are the steps that we are going to do in this video. First of all, install Oracle Virtualbox or hypervisor. These are some of the links that are needed, and I'm going to provide these links in the description of this video. First of all, I need to go to this website, virtualbox.org, to download Oracle VirtualBox. This is the website. From the left hand side, download, then choose the correct platform or environment, either Windows, OS X, Linux, or Solaris. So in this case, you are going to choose which environment that you are going to install Oracle VirtualBox on. In our case, I'm using Windows host, so I'm going to download this version. Of course, I pre-downloaded this version, so I don't need to wait. There's something else, another software called extension back. You need extension back because sometimes to enable using mouse and USB in your virtual environment. I'll go to the download folder now. In the download folder, I don't need to wait for the list of the downloads to be completed because I already downloaded all the software that I need. Here we have Oracle VirtualBox that I'm going to install. It will take some time, that depends on the computer speed. Here we have several components that we can install. First of all, we need to have USB support, networking option. We have what we call bridge networking, host or networking, that are different networking options that we can discuss in the next video. And the last item, do we need to have Python support or not? Next, different options, how to create shortcut or start menu icon. And the last one is to register file associations, because we have different files that can be used with Oracle VirtualBox. For example, the first file has the extension OVA, and currently it has no association, so Windows doesn't know how to open this file. After we install Oracle VirtualBox, the first file will have a certain icon to indicate it can be opened using Oracle VirtualBox. Here we have a warning so that we have network interface, because installing Oracle VirtualBox we may need to disable network connection for a while during the installation. The installation will take a while, that depending on the computer speed. Now the installation is completed. Here's the interface for the Oracle VirtualBox. To the left hand side, I can see different installed virtual machines. I have here 3 virtual machines installed from a previous installation. Now, for example, if I choose any virtual machine, I can start this virtual machine. If it's already started, I can stop it, and so on. From the file menu, preferences, I have this dialog. We have different options regarding, for example, input, updates, language, display, networking, extensions, proxy, and these options are related to the VirtualBox in general, not to any specific virtual machine. On the other hand, if I choose any virtual machine, right-click, settings, I can see a different dialog. This dialog contains different options related to this specific virtual machine. For example, in the networking, we have adapter 1, adapter 2, 3, and 4. We have 4 adapters, so this virtual machine can connect to 4 different networks. Also, we have another 4 adapters that can be configured using VirtualBox Manager, not from this interface, from different interface. The next step here, after installing Oracle VirtualBox, is to install the virtual machines. From these links, I need to install a virtual machine of type Linux Kali from this link. Of course, these links are available in the description of this video. I'll go to that location, Kali.org. We have different Kali offerings, either 64-bit or 32-bit. That depends on your computer. I'll go to my computer. This PC, right-click, properties. Here we have Windows 10, we have 64-bit. So 64-bit is good for my computer. I'll go back. So we have either 64 or 32. 64 is good for my computer. Of course, these images are of type ISO. ISO means you need to install Kali as a standalone operating system in your machine. In our case, we are installing Kali as a guest using Oracle VirtualBox, so I don't need to install ISO versions. On the other hand, I can go to this website what's called offensive security using VMware or Virtualbox. Offensive means that Kali has built-in offensive tools, offensive to do the attacks. Of course, in the world of security, we have either offensive or defensive. Now, I go to this website. We have different images. We have images related to VMware. We have images related to VirtualBox, and we have images related to Hyper-V. I go to install or download the VirtualBox images. Again, 64-bit or 32 bits. I download the 64 bits. Its size is 3.3 giga. It will take some time. I don't need to wait. I already downloaded this previously. So this file, Kali Linux 2020 to a VirtualBox extension OVA. OVA stands for Open Virtual Appliance. So it deals with, Kali like an appliance or standalone machine. Now we have this OVA file downloaded, 3.3 gig. How to add that to VirtualBox? Now from File menu, Import Appliance. Here I need to choose the extension for that appliance. I'll take the extension for that folder. Browse, search for that file. Next, we have here different options for the importing of that appliance. One important option at the bottom is choosing the MAC address. Here I need to choose what's called generate MAC address, a new MAC address, because if you import the same virtual machine more than once, you don't need all virtual machines to have the same MAC address. So here I'm generating a new MAC address for this virtual machine. Then I start the importing. Here we have an agreement. Import completed. To the left hand side, now we have 4 virtual machines. Before the importing we had 3 virtual machines, now we have 4. I'll do it again, import appliance again. Why? Because we need to have 2 virtual machines for testing purposes. I'll choose this one. Start the import. Remember to regenerate new MAC address. Start the importing. Approve the agreement. It will take some time. Now we have 5 virtual machines, 2 new ones and 3 pre-installed before. Now we have 2 new virtual machines installed in my machine. I'll make few tests. From the start menu, I start the command prompt cmd. Now that's a regular start for the cmd. Sometimes I need to start cmd and right click with run as administrator. I don't need to do that at the moment. From the command prompt, ipconfig, that's a command, built-in command to know the IP address. The IP address for the wireless LAN, in my case, 192.168.140. I record that because I need it later on. That's for the hosts, for the Windows, in my case. 192.168.140. Next, I'll go to the virtual machines and start the first virtual machine. Here we have the login screen. In Linux Kali, previously the default username was root. Root is like admin in Windows, and the password is tour. So root and tour. In the new distribution, the username is Kali and the password is Kali. Why? Because it's a normal user now without admin privilege, so that when you first log in using Kali, you don't have admin privilege. Of course, you can escalate that to admin privilege if you need to. Here, Kali as a username, Kali as a password. That's the desktop. I start the second VM. Again here, the username is Kali, the password is Kali. I'll display the 2 VMs side by side. Here from the desktop, right click, desktop settings, change the style to none. Choose here a solid color, for example green is okay, good choice. For the second virtual machine, right click, desktop settings, change the style again to none. change here to a solid color, choose a different color, select. So we have two virtual machines. I chose two different colors so that I can differentiate between the two virtual machines. In the first virtual machine, I'll go to terminal. Terminal is like command prompt in Windows. The font here is small. I can zoom in to increase the font from edit, zoom in, or control plus plus. ifconfig. In Windows it was ipconfig. Here in Linux it's ifconfig. This command won't work. Why? Because we logged in as non-privileged user. To elevate that to a privileged user, I precede that with sudo. So it's sudo ifconfig to know the IP address for the guest machine. Here it will ask me for the password to make sure that I am an admin or root user. Here we have the IP address. It's 10.0.2.5. I record that here for the guest one, 10.0.2.15. That's the IP address for this guest. I'll go to the second guest. Again, terminal. Again, zoom in. Sudo ifconfig. Again, the password, Kali. Here the IP address, again, unfortunately, 10.0.2.15. So we have a networking issue here. So two IP addresses or two virtual machines with the same IP address. How to resolve that? We're going to discuss this in the next video. But now let's try a few things. In this virtual machine, I try the ping command. Ping command from the table tennis. Table tennis previously, in early days, it was called bang bong. Bang bong. So it's like sending a ball to the other player and receiving the reply. So bang bong, just to make sure that my data can leave this machine to the destination and come back. Just to try to check if my network connection is working or not. So bang, let's try an external host. For example, google.com. So it's bang google.com. Here we have time. That is the needed time to reach the destination and come back from the bang bong. Control C to stop this one. I'll do something else here. From the guest, I'll try to bang, the host, the Windows from Linux, try to bang the host. So here, bang 192.168.140. Again, it's bingable. Control C. I can do the same from the second virtual machine and it will work. So from the virtual machine to the external world or to the host, it's bingable. I'll try to the other way now. From the host, I'll go to the host, CLS to clear the screen, bang, again some external host, again it's bingable. I'll try to bang one of the guests, bang 10.0.2.15. It's not reachable, it's not bingable. So in this case, the host is not able to reach the guests. Time out. One final note here, choosing any of the virtual machines, right click, settings, network. Now the networking type is NAT. It stands for network address translation, and this is the default networking mode in Oracle Virtualbox. We have of course other networking mode that we are going to discuss in the next video. Now what I'll do, I'll go to the first virtual machine, power off, and to the second virtual machine, power off. This concludes this video. In this video, we learned about how to install Oracle Virtualbox and how also to import two virtual machines of type Linux Kali.